What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel for episode 12 of the weekly handheld gaming news. And there's a few things to go over this week. We have the GeForce NOW games that came to the service this week, some Switch 2 news, some stuff for the upcoming Claw, the ROG Ally Xbox devices, and the Legion Go 2. So we'll go ahead and get into it and see what we got for this week. All right, this first thing I want to hit on is kind of grain of salt, more speculation from Moore's Law is dead and that kind of thing. But I did want to touch on it because every now and then the idea of a Sony handheld pokes its head up there, and it's always around 2027 or 2028. And for me, that would be really exciting to see another Sony dedicated handheld, not something like the Portal that's streaming, but something that's actually going to play the games that are coming out on PlayStation. And that would be really fun to see and kind of a different take, as Xbox really seems to be more, partnering up, and it sounds like they've kind of shelved their first party console experience kind of handheld for now. We'll have to see what really happens with that. But right now they're focused on those partnerships, and it looks like Sony might be more focused on actually creating that first party handheld device. So between that with Sony, the different things Xbox is doing, and what the PC handheld space is doing, plus we have the Switch 2 now, it's really exciting time. So anything like this, I just think is fun, and really I think we're just getting started. I've been saying for a couple of years that this is all first gen and second gen, and kind of the market churning up and getting going here for all these handhelds again. And I think 2027 and beyond is when we really start to see things mature and heat up and get better in the space. Right now we're all kind of early adopters and having fun with this stuff, but I think things are really going to start changing in the handheld space a lot over the next few years. All right, so next up has to do with our Lenovo Legion Go 2, and this is probably one of the more anticipated devices that's coming. I'm definitely ready to get mine pre-ordered when that happens. But there's been some stuff coming out the past couple of weeks with the prototypes that have been being sold in China and on different marketplaces, and it looks like originally those were just Ryzen Z2s, but now it looks like there is actually some Z2 Extreme prototypes out there as well that have been coming out and being tested up against the likes of, say, the MSI Claw A8, which is also in the middle of its launch, which we're going to get to in this video as well. But yeah, basically taking a quick look at some stuff in this article here, things are moving quickly. Updated prototypes have made their way to YouTubers, this time featuring the Ryzen Z2 Extreme chip. While still marketed as engineering samples, these units now reflect the intended final hardware platform. According to the latest video from Linus Tech, the Legion Go 2 is equipped with AMD Strix Point-based APU and Radeon 890M graphics, confirming that these are the current generation chips. So this is what we should expect when the Z2 Extreme models are ready to be pre-ordered. We get our actual hands on these things. But yeah, it's pretty cool because it was just the Z2s before, so it was kind of exciting to see what it was looking like, but performance didn't tell us much. But now we actually get more of an idea about some of that performance. Despite being a prototype, the Legion Go 2 is already showing promising results. In Shadow of the Tomb Raider at 1080p with medium settings and no frame generation enabled, the device delivered an average of 49 FPS, rendering 7,710 frames. The test confirms the device uses DirectX 12, and even without final software optimizations, it appears to be well tuned for performance. Now, here's where they do like a little bit of comparison up against the Claw, and this is really only one game, and of course there's a lot when it comes to BIOS, firmware, drivers, and all kinds of stuff here. So all of this is kind of grain of salt to me. But in comparison, MSI's Claw A8, which uses the same Ryzen Z2 Extreme APU, reached only 44 FPS and 6,751 rendered frames under the same settings. This gives Lenovo a 10% performance advantage in average frame rates and roughly 12.4% more total frames rendered. Now again, this can have to do with the memory, the motherboard layout, firmware, software, drivers, all that kind of different stuff, and I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. It's going to be interesting when I get my hands on these devices to actually start testing a lot of games side by side and see how they're running, because unless AMD starts directly supporting this APU for its drivers and stuff like that, we're going to still be waiting on like OEM driver updates and things like that, different versions of BIOS, again, motherboard layouts and all that. So even though it's the same Ryzen Z2 Extreme, it's fun to compare, and this kind of gives us an early idea of what things might be starting to look like. All right, and I covered this a little bit earlier in the week, but the ROG Xbox Ally and Ally X pre-orders are supposed to open up at Gamescom. So Microsoft did confirm that they are going to have these devices hands-on for players at Gamescom to try, and that's just in a few weeks here, or in August, so we're getting close. And it does appear that that's pretty much when pre-orders are going to go live. So pre-orders for the ASUS ROG Xbox Ally and Xbox Ally X open in August, and we have more confirmation. According to Deal Labs leak, the new Xbox branded handhelds will be available for pre-order starting on August 20th, 2025, one day after Gamescom opening night live and day one of the official show where Xbox will have a live broadcast. Like I said, they've also announced that they will have these units there for people to try and get hands on as well. And then, of course, they had more pricing confirmation, which this has been out for a couple of weeks now, expecting around the €899 for the black Ally X model and €599 for the white model. And what this is going to translate to USD so far, we don't necessarily know, but I still expect $599 to $699 for the white model and $899 to $999 for the black model. Hopefully they don't go over anything with that. Now, I think for the Z2A white model here, that's going to be a little bit pricey, and I'm not so sure. I'm going to be checking that one out, but we'll see. But definitely the ROG Xbox Ally X, I'll be pre-ordering and getting hands-on and testing this. And like I said, testing the new operating system experience will be fun, and of course comparing to other devices, which is going to be tough with this one. You'll have to boot into normal Windows for a proper test, but then also run the other operating system, or run the operating system in Xbox full screen mode and test that way, because that should technically be different performance. So it's going to be interesting getting into those kind of comparisons and videos. But yeah, I'm definitely ready. August 20th, it looks like we should be able to start pre-ordering these things. All right, this week we also got a little bit more information about that slowly launching MSI Claw A8 with the Ryzen Z2 Extreme, and it looks like it's going to be launching between August 4th and 10th in Germany at the €999. And it's also gotten its first firmware update, and I saw this over on X as well, where they've already started updating MSI Center and some of the firmware and things like that, because this did start launching in China like 2-3 weeks ago, and then I think Taiwan and now Germany. It's a very slow rollout, and MSI just gives us no information, tells us nothing about these launches, and it does get a bit frustrating. I've talked about that in plenty of videos, that I wish MSI would do an actual decent job of launching these things, having clear pre-order and launch times for regions and things like that. But I'm keeping my eye on it because I do want to pre-order one and try it out. I don't know for sure yet. I definitely need to get the Legion Go 2 here, and I need to get the ROG Xbox Ally X here. And we'll have to see about this Claw. If I can get hands on one or get one ordered, we'll do that. And when pre-orders do go live more broadly, or in the US or whatever the case, you know, I'll be covering this and following it as well. But yeah, let me know if you guys are trying to get your hands on this or what. We've got 3 big choices for Z2 Extremes coming up with the Legion Go 2, Xbox Ally X, and the MSI Claw A8. So pretty exciting, and they're all kind of different when it comes to screen sizes and other features. So there's a lot of choice here for what you want to get your hands on. But yeah, MSI is definitely the toughest one when it comes to their launches. Now, as far as the Nintendo Switch 2 this week, there was a direct partner showcase, which of course is for the Switch and Switch 2. And this was for just lighter weight partner game showcase, and there was definitely some decent stuff in there. They had Star Wars that was announced coming, which we already knew, which was a bit of a flop from Ubisoft, but I'm sure they're looking to try to get some more sales on that, and they've made a lot of updates and changes to the game, so we'll see how that works out for them. But it's going to be more interesting to see how it runs on the console, because that one was notoriously buggy, tough to run, poor performance, and that kind of stuff. There's also some other good things thrown in there with Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment coming, confirmation for Madden NFL 26 and FC 26, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and a bunch of other stuff thrown in there. So yeah, there's definitely it wasn't a big direct, and I know a lot of people were just kind of disappointed with it, but I think for what it was supposed to be, it was fine. It had a few decent looking things in there, some confirmation. I think a lot of us are mostly waiting for Pokemon, Metroid Prime 4, and Hyrule Warriors from Nintendo at this point anyway, when it comes to the Switch or Switch 2. All right, and the other thing here is Nintendo Switch prices are going to be going up after this weekend. Now, this has kind of been a common theme this generation for all 3 major console holders, where prices have gone up in a lot of regions, where normally we see slim editions that come out cheaper and, you know, major sales and things like that. It just hasn't really been the case this generation. It looks like even like the OLED model is going to be going up $50 more to $399. It's only, what, $449 for the Switch 2 non-bundle, so you're $50 away from the next generation Switch 2 at that point. But yeah, that's the way it goes. We're looking at a little bit of price increase on those original consoles, but I would think by now most people would be opting to look for that Switch 2 anyway. But yeah, it's really interesting. Again, it's not just Nintendo. It's just the only generation I can really remember where prices just kept going up instead of down years after these consoles came out. All right, and the final thing I want to go through this week is list out the GeForce Now games that have been added to the service for streaming. Again, of course, GeForce Now being a great cloud streaming service for your PC games. It works with a lot of Xbox Game Pass games, Steam, all the other launchers, and that type of thing. Most of you guys by now are getting pretty familiar with GeForce Now and what it's capable of on all your devices, including all the handhelds, where that's where I use it a lot to stream a lot of these tough to run games. But anyways, for this week, we've got Grounded 2, which is a new release on Steam and Xbox's PC Game Pass for July 29th. We have Achilles Survivor, which is a new release over on Steam for July 29th. Frosthaven is another new release on Steam for July 31st. Dead Take is a new release on Steam for July 31st. We have Farming Simulator 25, which is new for Xbox's PC Game Pass, coming to GeForce Now here for August 1st. There's High on Life from Xbox's PC Game Pass coming over. I believe they had another version. Was this on Steam? I'm trying to remember, but the Xbox PC Game Pass version is now going to be supported here on GFN. The King is Watching from Steam is another new one added here. And then Ultimate Chicken Horse from Xbox's PC Game Pass, in case you need to play some Ultimate Chicken Horse. Now, we'll go over these every week. They also release the list for everything coming in August. And I would say the biggest thing on there that I'm watching out for is Mafia: The Old Country. That's August 8th over on Steam. And I'm definitely going to be grabbing that and testing it on the handhelds here next weekend. We also have the Battlefield 6 beta that's going to be coming out that same weekend on the 9th. So there's going to be a lot of stuff to try to test and make some videos on. But yeah, so that might be one that's going to be good to stream too. But we'll see how performance is on the handhelds. But that'll be for next week, and we'll talk about that more next Friday when they announce those games next week. All right, guys, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this week. I think while we don't have a lot of details, everyone can agree that there's probably a Sony handheld, dedicated native running games kind of handheld, coming soon enough in the next 1 to 2 years or so from them, maybe 3 if we go into 2028. It's nice to see some more Legion Go 2 news, but I'd love to see some official stuff from Lenovo soon, because I have a hunch August, September-ish, we're going to be in pre-order range for those. Just like August 20th, we'll be able to pre-order those ROG Xbox Ally devices. I'm going to keep my eye out for the MSI Claw A8, and we'll cover news here for it and when it becomes more available for pre-order. But I'm up in the air as to whether or not I really want to invest in that one and get it here, seeing as I'm already going to have to buy the other two Z2 Extremes, and MSI's launches have just been a bit of a mess. But we'll see. I do want to check it out, so we'll see. But anyways, guys, I think I'll just leave it there. Thanks a lot for coming to check out the video. As always, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.